Hello, space fans! Today, we're diving into the saga of Boeing's Starliner spacecraft, a vehicle that spent its summer grounded, not soaring. Imagine showing off your brand new car only to have it break down every time you try to drive it. That's Starliner right now, stuck on Earth, while astronauts wait for a ride. Starliner was supposed to be NASA's backup ride to the International Space Station, a second bus in case the first was late. But instead of a victory lap, Boeing's facing headlines like Starliner sidelined. Years of work delays and budget overruns led to this moment, Starliner's big test. But space is hard, and even small problems can mean big delays. The world is watching as Boeing tries to fix its high-tech taxi and get it back in the game. This isn't just about one company, it's about the challenge of human spaceflight, the rivalry with SpaceX, and the future of NASA's plans. We'll break down what went wrong, why it matters, and what it'll take to get Starliner out of the doghouse. In space exploration, patience and perseverance are as important as rocket fuel. So grab your popcorn, this story is just getting started. Let's get into it. Let's rewind. After the space shuttle retired, NASA needed new rides to the ISS. Enter the Commercial Crew Program. SpaceX and Boeing won contracts to build space taxis. Starliner's big moment came in June 2024. Two veteran astronauts, Butch Wilmore and Suni Williams, climbed aboard for the first crewed test flight. The launch was spectacular, and hopes were high for a smooth mission. The plan: dock with the ISS, stay a week, then return home. If all went well, Starliner would be certified for regular flights. But docking with the ISS is like parking in a moving garage at 17,500 miles per hour. Precision is everything. As Starliner approached, mission controllers noticed quirks. The journey was bumpier than planned. The astronauts made it safely, but the spacecraft showed troubling signs. Instead of a triumphant debut, Starliner's arrival was overshadowed by technical concerns. The mission that was supposed to launch a new era ended up raising serious questions, and those questions would keep Starliner and its crew stuck in space far longer than anyone expected. So, what went wrong? First, Starliner developed multiple helium leaks, 5 to be exact. Helium is crucial for pressurizing the propulsion system, pushing fuel into the thrusters. Leaks mean less control and more risk. Imagine trying to inflate a pool float with 5 tiny holes. That's what engineers faced, scrambling to manage the leaks and keep enough helium for the trip home. Then, another problem. 5 thrusters in the reaction control system failed to fire on command during docking. It's like your car's brakes not working when you need them most. Terrifying in space. Flight controllers had to troubleshoot in real time, firing the thrusters repeatedly until they worked. These weren't minor glitches. Helium leaks pointed to possible design flaws, thruster failures raised questions about hardware and software. With crew safety at stake, NASA hit pause. Starliner's week-long stay stretched into months as engineers worked to bring the astronauts home safely. The mission ended with Starliner's return, but its future was suddenly uncertain. These issues weren't quick fixes, they demanded a deep investigation. For Boeing, it was a harsh lesson. In space, every detail matters. Starliner's problems put its entire program on hold. Now, the pressure was on to find solutions, or risk being left behind. Starliner's troubles are even starker when compared to SpaceX's Crew Dragon. Since 2020, Crew Dragon has flown over a dozen successful missions, becoming NASA's go-to space taxi. SpaceX moved fast, learned from failures, and now boasts a sleek, reusable vehicle. Boeing, with its cautious, traditional approach, has faced setback after setback. Starliner's first uncrewed test in 2019 failed. It took years to try again. Now, crewed flight issues have set them back further. NASA wanted 2 providers for redundancy. If one system fails, the other keeps astronauts flying. But with Starliner grounded, NASA relies solely on SpaceX. That's risky. If Crew Dragon is ever grounded, NASA's options vanish. Getting Starliner flying safely isn't just about Boeing's pride, it's about America's access to space. The stakes are high for both companies and for NASA's future plans. The race isn't over, but right now SpaceX is far ahead. Grounding Starliner isn't just embarrassing, it's expensive. NASA gave Boeing a $4.2 billion contract for 6 crewed missions. SpaceX's deal was $2.6 billion. Boeing has already spent over $1.5 billion of its own money fixing problems with no flights to show for it. Every day Starliner sits idle, Boeing loses money and reputation. Once a symbol of reliability, Boeing now faces tough questions from NASA, lawmakers, and the public. The constant delays have put Boeing under a microscope, making future contracts harder to win. For NASA, it's a balancing act. They need Boeing to succeed, but astronaut safety comes first. The pressure is on both sides. Boeing must deliver, and NASA must hold them accountable. This costly timeout could define Boeing's future in human spaceflight. The next steps are critical for both the company and the agency. What's next for Starliner? A long road of fixes. NASA and Boeing announced no more crewed flights until at least 2026. First up, another uncrewed test flight to prove the problems are solved. Engineers must find and fix the root causes of the helium leaks. Every valve, seal, and pipe will be scrutinized. The thruster failures need answers too. Was it hardware, software, or both? Expect hundreds of ground tests and possible redesigns. Only after a flawless uncrewed mission will NASA consider certifying Starliner for astronauts again. Boeing has to prove it's learned from its mistakes and can deliver a safe, reliable spacecraft. The world will be watching that 2026 test. It's Boeing's chance at redemption or its last shot. So, what does all this mean for NASA? With Starliner grounded, NASA depends entirely on SpaceX for ISS trips. That's not ideal. Redundancy is key in spaceflight. NASA still wants two providers, but patience with Boeing isn't endless. If Starliner's 2026 test fails, NASA may look for new partners or open a new competition. For Boeing, the next 2 years are make or break. Fix the problems, restore trust, and deliver on promises. Another failure could end their role in human spaceflight. For future scientists and engineers, this is a lesson in perseverance and problem solving. The journey to the stars is never easy, but it's always worth it. What do you think? Should NASA stick with Boeing or look for a new ride to space? Let us know.